Let's start with a quick show of hands. Growing up, how many of us were scared of needle injections? Quite a few of us. Imagine a future where our kids and grandkids grow up without this fear of needles. This is the future that we're working towards by developing microneedles. So microneedles are so small that you can barely see them, but are as effective or even more effective than the conventional hypodermic needles. We use these microneedles to deliver useful drugs into our skin. Our skin, which is the largest organ in our body, has a very strong immune response to fight any germs or microorganisms that enter our body. People have used this strong immune response in the past to deliver vaccines, such as the smallpox vaccine, into our skin. However, the techniques were pretty crude and we didn't have a reliable way of delivering drugs into our skin. Until now, we have microneedles. And however, we do not fully understand how the injected fluid moves around in the skin. This is the focus of our research, to understand what really happens when we inject fluid into the skin. So we start by taking skin samples from pigs, because it turns out pig skin is very similar to human skin. How flattering. So we take the skin sample and inject a simple fluid like water and simply observe what happens on the inside of the skin. We take snapshots of the internal tissue structure using near-infrared light, and what we find is quite interesting. So you can picture the skin simply as a bed of rocks, with the rocks being analogous to skin tissue and the gaps between these rocks analogous to the gaps between the skin tissue. What we find is, if we try to inject while pressing onto this bed of rocks, not allowing the rocks to move around and keeping the gaps tight, we are unable to inject much water or can inject only a little amount. However, if we pull back the microneedle and create a space for the rocks to move around, we find that the water flows through these gaps and expands them, filling them with more water. So this lets us control the speed and the amount of injected fluid or any useful drug into our skin by simply controlling the skin tissue expansion. This simple yet fundamental observation takes us one step closer to having a future where a fear of needles is a thing of the past. Thank you.